It was a bright morning at Galactic Unity Academy, a school floating above a blue and green planet in deep space. This was not an ordinary school. Students from all over the galaxy came here to learn science, history, languages, and teamwork. Some had wings, others had tails, and a few even glowed in the dark. But there was one thing that made Class 3Z very special. Every student in the class was an alien girl. Some had 4 arms. Some had shiny scales. Some floated instead of walking. They all looked different, but they had one thing in common: not a single boy in the class. And no humans either. That all changed one morning. The classroom door opened with a soft beep, and Teacher Vaughn, a floating robot with round eyes and a kind voice, hovered in. "Class," Vaughn said, "we have a new student joining us today. Please be respectful." The students turned their heads, their eyes curious and wide. Whispers filled the air. Is it another water girl from planet Run? Maybe it's a shadow walker? Maybe someone with wings? But when the student walked in, everyone went completely silent. He had only 2 arms, 2 legs, a small backpack, short black hair, brown eyes, simple clothes. He was a human. He was also a boy. The class stared. Nira, a fast-talking alien with 4 arms and glowing green skin, leaned over to her friend. "Is this a joke?" she whispered. "Did the teacher really bring a boy here?" Luma, who floated above her seat and had light blue skin that shimmered like water, tilted her head. "I've read about humans," she said softly, "but I've never seen one before." Zaki, a lizard-like girl with a long tail, was already sketching Rin's shoes in her notebook. "Do you think he has toes like ours or soft feet?" The boy didn't say a word. He just walked quietly to the empty seat in the middle of the classroom and sat down. He looked calm, but his fingers tapped the side of his bag. Tap, tap, tap. He was nervous. Teacher Vaughn gave a short nod. "This is Rin. He's from Earth, one of the newer planets in our school system. Please help him feel welcome." Nira raised her hand right away. "Yes, Nira? Why is he in our class? Isn't there a human class somewhere?" Teacher Vaughn replied gently. "Rin was placed here to promote cross-species learning. That means we all learn from each other." The class groaned. Most of them didn't look happy. Rin lowered his head a little. He didn't like attention. Earth. Schools were noisy, but nothing like this. These girls weren't mean, but they were loud and unusual. A moment later, the lesson began. Today's topic was interstellar patterns and navigation. Teacher Vaughn projected a big star map into the air. "Can anyone tell me the shortest path between Sector M4 and Sector K9 without passing through a gravity well?" Nira shot up her hand again. "Easy. Take the y-axis curve and turn it planet Mira." "That takes too long," said Zaki. "The wormhole shortcut is faster if you cut through the dense cloud." Both were wrong. Slowly, a hand rose in the middle of the class. It was Rin. "Yes, Rin?" said Teacher Vaughn, surprised. Rin stood up. "You can go in a straight line between M4 and K9, but you just have to pass above the gravity well by 0.4 units. It's faster and safer." The room was quiet. Then Teacher Vaughn said, "Correct." Several students gasped. "How did he know that?" whispered one. "Was that luck?" asked another. But it wasn't luck. Rin had studied old Earth star maps. He also had a simple way of looking at things, while others tried to use complex routes and strange shortcuts. Rin just saw a straight line. After class, the students surrounded him. "Do you have lasers in your eyes?" Nira asked. "Can you breathe without oxygen tanks?" Zaki poked his arm gently. "Is your skin always this soft? Can I read your mind?" Luma floated close and closed her eyes. "Nope, nothing." Rin stepped back, unsure what to say. "I'm just normal." Nira crossed all 4 arms. "Well, you're not boring. That's for sure." At lunch, Rin sat alone. He opened his small box, a sandwich, an apple, a cookie. Simple Earth food. The others had colorful meals, floating jelly cubes, fire crystals, and steaming blue soup. I came over. Can I trade you a slice of my mooncake for that cookie? Rin blinked. Mooncake? She handed him a glowing purple cube. He handed her the cookie. Zeki took one bite and smiled with all her sharp teeth. Earth cookies are amazing. Rin tasted the mooncake. It tasted like cotton candy and lemon mixed together. Weird, but good. Later that day, Rin walked past the garden area near the school dome. He looked out at the stars. So many of them. Back on Earth, nobody had expected much from him. He was quiet. Not very strong, not very fast, but here. He was different. He didn't know if that was good or bad. Then he heard a voice. Hey, said Nira, walking over. You surprised me today. Rin looked at her. Sorry. No, she said, smiling. It was a good surprise. I like puzzles. You're kind of like a puzzle. A quiet, small puzzle with soft skin. Thanks. Rin said, not sure if that was a compliment. Nira laughed. Let's see what else you can surprise us with, Earth Boy. She waved and walked off, her four arms swinging as she went. Rin smiled just a little. Maybe this school wasn't so bad. Maybe, just maybe, he belonged here. The next day at Galactic Unity Academy, Rin walked into the classroom quietly. His eyes scanned the room, and as he expected, all eyes were already on him. It was like he had turned into a walking mystery overnight. Some girls tried to act normal, but most couldn't help glancing at him again and again. Even Teacher Vaughn, the floating robot instructor, hovered a little lower than usual, watching with interest. Rin took his seat in the middle of the classroom. His hands rested on his lap, calm on the outside. But inside, his mind raced. He had thought the first day would be the hardest. He was wrong. Today was going to be even stranger. Before we begin, Teacher Vaughn said, I've received questions from several of you about humans. Since we now have one in our class, we'll take 10 minutes for open questions. Half the class raised their hands in excitement. Go ahead. Zeki, said Teacher Vonn.Zeki. The lizard-like girl with orange scales leaned forward. Rin, is it true you can't regrow your arms? Rin blinked. No. Humans can't do that. The class gasped. What if your tail falls off? Someone else asked. I don't have a tail. Laughter. Not mean laughter, just surprised. Luma, the floating blue girl, tilted her head. Then how do you balance while running? I just use my legs. Whispers filled the air again. No tail, no wings, no floating ability? Maybe humans are weaker than we thought. But he solved the space puzzle yesterday. Yeah, but how? Teacher Vaughn raised a robotic arm. Let's continue the lesson. Enough questions for now. Today's class was about mechanical teamwork. Each group had to build a small working machine using limited tools and parts. The goal was to design a robot that could pick up blocks and stack them in a pattern. Nira, Zeki, and Luma ended up in Rin's group. Zeki clapped her hands. Yes, I love robot tasks, Nira smirked. Let's see what Earth Boy can do. Rin looked at the parts on the table, tiny motors, wires, claws, wheels. Zeki started connecting pieces quickly. We'll make a tall grabber bot. I'll build the arm. I'll handle the energy source, said Luma, already floating toward the charging cells. I'll observe, Rin said, stepping back a little. Nira crossed her arms. That means you don't know what to do, huh? Rin didn't reply right away. Instead, he looked at the blueprint on the desk. It had a small error. If they followed it exactly, the robot would tip over once the blocks got too high. He picked up a pencil and quietly fixed the sketch. Then he adjusted the wheel spacing. Try building it this way, Rin said softly. Zeki frowned. Are you sure? Just trust me. They followed his suggestion. When the robot was ready, they placed it on the test area. The small machine rolled forward, grabbed 3 blocks, and stacked them neatly without falling. The other teams. Robots wobbled or dropped blocks. Teacher Vaughn scanned the machines. Team 4. Excellent balance. Who designed the base? Nira. Pointed at Rin. He did. Now the class was really paying attention. Again, the human had done something clever. Not flashy, but smart. During the break, Rin went to the small study garden, where sunlight came through the glass roof. He sat on a rock bench and took out his notebook. He liked drawing designs and writing notes. It helped him feel calm. Soon, Zaki walked in and sat beside him. She had brought a box of crunchy blue snacks that smelled like salt. Want some? She offered. Rin shook his head politely. No thanks. Zaki opened the box anyway and popped one into her mouth. I like your thinking, she said while chewing. It's not fancy, but it works, Rin smiled. Thanks. Where did you learn that? Earth has a lot of machines. Some are simple. I like taking apart old ones and putting them back. Together, Zaki nodded. We only study space tech here. Maybe simple is better sometimes. They sat in silence for a while. The garden was peaceful. In the next class, Galactic History, Teacher Vaughn spoke about the old alliance of planets. Long ago, he explained, many species worked together to build peace across the stars. But over time, they drifted apart. Some even forgot about each other. Luma raised a hand. Is that why humans were left out? Not exactly, said Teacher Vaughn. Earth was quiet, hard to reach, but now humans are joining again. Rin looked at the star map on the wall. Earth was a tiny blue dot among thousands. He felt small again, but he also felt something else, like maybe he was here for a reason. After school, as Rin walked down the hallway, a few students waved at him. He waved back, surprised. He heard whispers again. He's kind of smart. He doesn't talk much, but I like that. Did you see how fast their robot moved? Maybe humans aren't weak after all. At his locker, Nira leaned against the wall, waiting. You did fine today, she said. Thanks. But don't get too full of yourself. I'm still the fastest in this class, Rin chuckled. I'm not trying to beat anyone. Well, Nira said, walking away, that's exactly why you're interesting. Rin closed his locker and looked out the window. The stars were just starting to shine again in the evening sky. Planets, moons, and faraway lights twinkled in the darkness. He was still the only human boy in the class. But now, he didn't feel alone. It was the 3rd week since Rin, the only human boy, had joined Class 3Z at Galactic Unity Academy. And though he still walked quietly and didn't talk much, the class had started to accept him, not as a stranger, but as someone interesting. Morning. Earth boy, Nira said cheerfully as Rin entered the room. Morning, Rin replied with a small smile. Luma floated closer and held out a little blue fruit. Try this, it's from my home planet, very sweet. Rin took it politely and tasted it. It melted on his tongue like cool sugar. Good, he said honestly. Luma beamed. Even Zaki gave him a nod. You're not bad, Rin, for someone without a tail, Rin smiled, feeling warm inside. Slowly, he was finding his place. That day, Teacher Vaughn hovered into the classroom with a new message. Today is your first exploration simulation, he said. The class grew excited. Some clapped. Some bounced in their seats. Rin looked around, confused. What's that? It's a teamwork test, Nira whispered. They drop us into a fake world, and we have to survive using our skills. Teacher Vaughn explained the rules. You will all be placed in a virtual forest. Each group must build a shelter, gather food, and find the lost beacon hidden in the area. The first team to activate the beacon wins. But remember, this test is about teamwork, not speed. The students were divided into groups of 4. Rin was again grouped with Nira, Luma, and Zaki. Just like last time, said Zaki. Perfect. I hope you're ready, human, Nira said with a grin. This simulation isn't like reading a book. I'll do my best, Rin said. Calmly. A moment later, the classroom lights dimmed, and each student sat in a round chair that connected to the simulator. A soft hum filled the air as the virtual world began. Rin felt a light tingle, and then he was standing in the middle of a green forest. Tall trees with glowing leaves surrounded him. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead. The air was warm and smelled like fresh grass. He looked down. He still had 2 arms, 2 legs. Human as always, Zaki stepped forward, checking her gear. We need wood. I'll find some long branches. I'll float up and scout the area, said Luma, rising into the air. I'll look for food. Nira added, You? I'll start on the shelter base, Rin replied, looking at a clear space under the trees. They split up. Working fast. Rin used flat stones and strong vines to shape the shelter's frame. It wasn't fancy, but it would stand. He stacked leaves for roof cover and even dug a small channel for water to drain away. Zaki returned with branches. This is the best spot. I already started, Rin said, tying the beams together. Zeki looked impressed. You're fast. Nira came back with 3 bright red fruits. Not much food nearby. Are they safe? Rin asked. Let's find out. She bit into one. Her eyes widened. Too spicy. Zaki laughed. Don't worry, I brought bugs. Rin stared. Bugs? Crunchy and full of protein. He politely shook his head. I'll eat later. By evening, in simulation time, the team had finished their shelter and gathered enough supplies. Luma floated back, excited. I saw the beacon tower. It's northwest, past the glowing river. Then that's our next move, said Nira. But as they stepped outside their shelter, heavy rain began to fall. Lightning flashed and the wind howled. We should wait, Rin suggested. The storm could be dangerous. We'll lose time, Nira argued. It's not about speed, Rin reminded her. We won't reach the beacon if someone slips or gets hurt. Zaki looked at the sky. He's right. The weather here is coded for real reactions. The mud will slow us. Luma nodded. We wait. Nira crossed her arms but said nothing. She didn't like waiting. But something about Rin's calm voice made her pause. They sat inside the shelter. Rain tapped gently on the leaves above. Back home, Rin said softly. My grandpa used to tell me, even the sun rests behind clouds. So wait your time. Your grandpa sounds wise, said Luma. He was, Rin said. Staring at the fire. By morning, the storm cleared. The group moved quickly through the forest, following Luma's directions. After an hour, they reached a glowing river with wide stones for stepping. Zaki leapt first, landing with her tail for balance. Rin went second, stepping carefully across. The wet rocks. Nira slipped, but caught herself with all 4 arms. They reached the other side safely, and there it was, the beacon tower, tall and silver, standing in a clearing. Let's go. Nira shouted. But then a trap. As soon as they stepped forward, the ground gave way beneath Luma. She screamed, floating helplessly as vines wrapped around her legs. I can't move. She shouted. Nira ran forward, but was stopped by laser walls that appeared suddenly. Zaki threw a stone. Nothing passed through. It's part of the simulation, Rin said quickly. It's a challenge. But she lose points if we don't help her, said Zeki. Rin studied the vines. They respond to sound and motion. Look, they tighten when she moves. He took a flat metal disc from his bag and tossed it behind. The vines twisted toward the sound and loosened around Luma. Now. Rin shouted. Luma floated upward just in time. The team cheered. They ran to the beacon. And together, they pressed their hands on the glowing panel. The light turned green. Success. When they woke from the simulation, the classroom lights came back. On. Teacher Vaughn hovered forward. Well done, Group 3, he said. first to finish and highest teamwork score. Zaki raised her arms in victory. Yes. Nira looked at Rin. You planned that whole thing? Just watched and listened, Rin said. I don't like waiting, she said honestly. But I trust you now, human. Rin smiled. After class, Rin sat in the garden again, sketching the beacon in his notebook. Zeki passed by and dropped a cookie beside him. You earned it, she said. Luma floated over, holding a flower from the simulation. It wasn't real, but I liked it. Felt like a real adventure. Nira arrived last, hands on her hips. You surprised me again, Rin. I didn't mean to, Rin replied. Well, Nira said with a grin, keep doing it. Rin looked around at his teammates' friends now, maybe. He had come into a class full of alien girls, but slowly. He was no longer just the human boy. He was Rin, part of the team. Weeks passed at Galactic Unity Academy, and Rin was no longer treated like a stranger. Now when he walked into the classroom, students waved and smiled. Even the coldest ones had warmed up to the quiet human boy with a clever mind. He had become part of the class, but something strange was about to happen, something no one expected. One morning, Teacher Vaughn entered the class with a blinking red light on his chest. It meant urgent news. Students, he said, we have a special guest arriving today. All of you are to report to the Central Hall in 10 minutes. Whispers spread across the room. Who is it? A visitor? Maybe a new student. Or a government leader, Rin looked at his friends. Even Zaki seemed unsure. Nira stretched her arms. Whoever it is, it must be important. The Central Hall was large and round, with a glass ceiling showing the stars above. All classes gathered there, filling the space with soft chatter. Then, the lights dimmed and a large silver ship floated down from the open sky roof. It landed silently. Out stepped a tall, smooth-skinned alien with glowing eyes and a golden robe. Everyone stopped talking. It's a Sorrenthan, Luma whispered. They're one of the oldest starfaring races. The Sorrenthan looked around and smiled. His voice echoed gently in the hall. Greetings, students of the galaxy. I am Eleanor, Knowledge Keeper of the Sorrenthan Council. I have come to meet the one who changed the pattern. The crowd gasped. What pattern? Changed what? Who is he talking about? Eleanor raised a long arm and pointed directly toward one person. Rin. Everyone turned to look at him. Rin blinked. Me? Later, in a private room filled with glowing lights and quiet hums, Rin sat across from Eleanor. Teacher Vaughn stood behind him, silent. You are the first human to attend this academy, Eleanor said kindly. But more than that, you have drawn attention. I didn't mean to, Rin said softly. Eleanor smiled. Exactly why it matters. He walked slowly around the room. Many species develop quickly, some with claws, some with wings, some with power. But humans, you adapt, you think, you observe. Rin stayed quiet. In the simulation, you did not rush, you waited. In the machine test, you chose stability over speed. And your class began to follow your example. I was just trying to help, Rin said. Elonir stopped and nodded. And you did. That's the human way. Rin looked up. Why does it matter so much? The Sorrenthan's eyes glowed a little brighter. Because, he said, the stars are changing. Soon, all races will need each other more than ever before, and humans may lead a new way. When Rin returned to class, everyone stared at him again, but it felt different this time. Nira met him at the door. You really are full of surprises, Zeki grinned. A visitor from the Star Council just to see you? Luma floated beside him. Are you a hero now? Rin laughed quietly. I'm just Rin. But inside he wondered, what did Eleanor really mean? The next few days went back to normal mostly. One afternoon, the class had Planet Challenge Day. Each student had to give a short talk about their home world. One by one, They stood before the class and shared stories. Luma showed pictures of her floating cities made from clouds. Zaki spoke of her desert planet and how her people hunted with sound. Nira showed her jungle home where everything glowed. At night. Then, it was Rin's turn. He stood up, holding a small crystal projector. A blue image of Earth appeared above the class. "This is my home," he said. "We have oceans, forests, mountains, and many problems." He showed a picture of humans helping each other during storms and disasters. "But even when we fall, we try again." He pointed to an image of children playing under the sun. "We may not fly or float or glow, but we imagine. We dream." The class listened quietly. "And maybe that's why we're here now," Rin finished. "To learn from others. And maybe to give something back." When he sat down, no one spoke for a few moments. Then Zaki clapped. Then Luma. Then the whole class. Later, after class, Rin went to the garden. The sky above was full of stars again. He sat on the same bench and took out his notebook. He began drawing the starship Eleanor arrived in. Footsteps approached. Nira sat beside him. "You think a lot," she said. "Maybe too much." "No," she said. "It's good. It makes others think too." She looked at the stars. "Do you think what the Sorrentans said is true? That humans have a big role to play?" "I don't know," Rin said honestly. "But I think we can do good things, together." Nira nodded. "I didn't like humans before," she admitted. "I thought they were boring, weak. But now, you still don't like me?" Rin asked with a small smile. Nira looked at him and smirked. "I didn't say that." They sat quietly for a while. The next day brought something new. A strange signal was detected from the deep asteroid fields beyond the school zone. It wasn't dangerous, but it was unknown. Teacher Vaughn made an announcement. "We have been asked to select a small student group for a short research trip. You'll study the signal and report back." The students whispered in excitement. Rin, Nira, Zaki, and Luma were selected. As they stood at the launch pad beside the small research craft, Rin looked at his team. A quiet human boy, a sharp-tongued jungle girl, a fast-talking lizard, and a floating thinker. Strange team, but somehow just right. "Let's go," Nira said. The door closed, engines hummed, and the ship lifted off. Their next journey had begun. The research ship moved quietly through space. It was small but strong, with a smooth silver body and wide windows to see the stars. Inside were Rin, Nira, Zaki, and Luma, a strange team from Class 3Z ready for a new mission. Their goal was simple: find the source of the unknown signal that came from the deep asteroid field. The signal wasn't dangerous, but it was strange, soft pulses of sound that played in a pattern, like music or a message. "I've never been this far outside the Academy zone," Luma said as she floated beside the window. Zaki clicked her tongue. "These rocks don't scare me. We lizards use caves smaller than these for training." Nira folded her arms. "Still, it's quiet, too quiet." Rin sat near the ship's scanner. He didn't say much, but his eyes studied the blinking lights carefully. After 2 hours of smooth flight, the ship entered the asteroid field. The view was beautiful and strange. Floating rocks of all sizes moved slowly in space, their surfaces glowing faintly under distant stars. Some looked sharp. Others were smooth like eggs. Then the signal returned. Beep, beep. Rin leaned forward. "There it is again, same pattern." "It's coming from inside that large asteroid," Zeki said, pointing to a dark, round rock floating slowly in the middle. Nira tapped the controls. "Let's land." The ship moved closer and carefully landed on the side of the asteroid. Magnetic legs locked it in place. "Time to suit up," said Luma. The 4 students wore thin spacesuits designed for light missions. They stepped out of the ship and onto the asteroid's surface. The ground was rough, dark gray, and silent. "This place feels old," Nira whispered. They followed the signal to a small cave opening. It was round, almost perfect, as if someone or something had made it. Inside, glowing blue stones lit the path. The walls were smooth and cold. As they walked deeper, the signal became louder. Beep, beep. Suddenly, they reached a wide, open chamber. At the center stood a strange machine, tall, silver, and covered in soft lights. It hummed gently, like it was asleep. "What is this?" Zeki asked. "A beacon? Or maybe a recorder?" Luma guessed. Rin stepped closer and noticed something written on the base. Strange symbols, but some letters looked familiar. He read them slowly. "To those who find this, we wait. We wait?" Nira repeated. "Wait for what?" Zeki pressed a small button on the machine. At once, the machine lit up. A soft light filled the chamber, and a hologram appeared, an image of a tall, peaceful-looking creature with long arms and soft eyes. It began to speak in an old, echoing voice. "We were the ones before. We watched the stars and built many things. But time caught up with us, so we left behind pieces of memory. In case others would come, if you find this, it means the stars have changed. Learn from us, grow, do better." Then the light faded. Silence returned. No one spoke for a moment. "That was a message from an ancient race," Luma whispered. Zeki nodded. "They're gone now, but they left this behind." Rin touched the machine gently. "Not a warning, a gift." Nira looked around. "We should report this to Teacher Van. This is important." They took scans, photos, and notes. Then carefully left the cave, heading back to their ship. But as they were about to leave the asteroid, a strange sound echoed through the radio. Click. Click. Is that another signal?" Zeki asked. Rin checked the scanner. "No, it's a response." Luma's eyes widened. "Someone else is out there." They looked through the ship's window and saw a second ship approaching. Small, quiet, and unmarked, Nira narrowed her eyes. "It's not from the Academy. Should we run?" Zeki asked. "No," Rin said calmly. "Let's listen first." The unknown ship stopped nearby. A voice came through the comms, deep and slow. "You found the memory. You are not the first, but you may be the right ones." The team looked at each other. "Who are you?" Nira asked. "We are Watchers. We protect the lost knowledge left by the ones before. We test those who find it. If you are wise, we share. If not, we vanish." "What kind of test?" Zeki asked. "A test of choice." The ship opened a small bay. Inside was a crystal orb, glowing with soft green light. "You may take this. It holds knowledge, but not all can use it well. Will you take it for power? Or will you leave it and prove you have learned?" The team fell silent. "I don't trust them," Zeki said. "Could help us," Luma whispered. Nira looked at Rin. "What do you think?" Rin thought carefully. He remembered Elanir's words. The stars are changing, and humans may lead a new way. He stepped forward and spoke clearly. "We won't take it. Not yet. Knowledge is not for quick hands. We'll return when we're ready to understand it." There was a pause, then the Watcher's voice spoke again. "Wise answer. You have passed. The path ahead remains open to you." The unknown ship turned and quietly disappeared into the stars. As the students flew back to the academy, the mood in the ship was calm and thoughtful. "You made the right call," Nira said to Rin. "Yeah," Zeki added. "Power given too early can break things." Luma looked at the stars. "Maybe one day we'll return, when we're truly ready," Rin nodded. "And maybe that's what the ancient race wanted. Not to give us power, but to teach us patience." The ship moved quietly through space, carrying 4 students who had just taken one more step into the unknown. Rin and his team returned to the academy 2 days later. The moment their ship landed, they were greeted by Teacher Van and 2 other instructors. Behind them stood several students, curious and excited. "You were gone longer than planned," Teacher Vaughn said seriously. "But the signal has stopped." "And your ship's logs show something important," Rin nodded. "We found a machine, a message from an ancient race." "And we met someone," added Luma. "The Watchers." The instructors looked at each other with surprise. "You are to report everything to the head council," Teacher Vaughn said. "They have called for a special meeting. All 4 of you are invited." Zaki raised a brow ridge. "The council wants to see us?" "That's a big deal," Nira said, half in shock. "Students never get invited." Rin didn't say anything. He just looked up at the stars, wondering what would come next. The Galactic Unity Council sat in a grand room shaped like a circle. The walls were made of soft crystal that changed color with sound. At the center was a raised platform with curved seats where leaders of different star species sat tall. Short, glowing, scaled, feathered, and even mist-like. Eleanor, the Sorrenthan, who had spoken to Rin before, stood among them. Rin, Nira, Zaki, and Luma walked in and stood in the middle of the room. They wore clean uniforms and held their data pads. The room was quiet as they began to speak. One by one, they told the story. The signal, the ancient chamber, the machine's message, the ship that arrived, and the choice they made not to take the crystal of knowledge. When they finished, the council remained silent. Then Eleanor stood. "You did not choose power," he said softly. "You chose patience. That choice speaks louder than anything else." A tall counselor with blue eyes and 6 arms asked, "Why did the human lead this choice?" Rin looked up. "Because I didn't feel ready. And because sometimes not taking something is the right answer." Another counselor with shimmering wings leaned forward. "You were tested by the Watchers. They do not appear for everyone." Eleanor nodded. "They believe you may be part of something bigger. That is why the council must now decide. Should we begin a new project? One that connects all students from different species into a special learning path?" The vote was quiet but fast. Each leader placed their light on the center orb. The answer was yes. The Unity program would begin starting with 4 students. Later that evening, Rin sat alone in the garden again. He looked up at the stars, holding a small crystal in his hand, not the one from the Watchers, but one given by the council. It was a symbol of trust. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt small, but also full of purpose. He heard footsteps. Nira sat beside him, holding a tray of warm starberries. "You didn't eat after the council meeting." "Wasn't hungry," Rin said quietly. "You're thinking again," she said. "Always." She smiled and nudged his shoulder. "Well, stop thinking for once. We're the first team of the new Unity program. That's something big." He smiled faintly. "I just don't want to fail." "You won't," she said. "Because you think before you act. That's rare." Zaki and Luma joined them a moment later, laughing and carrying snacks. "We're famous now," Zaki said. 3 news waves already reported about us. One called Rin the quiet spark of Earth. Rin groaned. "That's too much." Luma floated nearby. "Fame comes and goes, but ideas stay. And this program is a good idea." They all sat together, eating snacks under the stars. It felt simple. It felt right. The next week, Unity program officially started. It wasn't like a normal class. Each student got a personal lab, a shared workroom, and access to star history files normally kept for senior researchers. Their first task was unusual. Build a bridge between 2 species. Not a real bridge, but a project that helped 2 different cultures understand each other better. Rin's team decided to create a digital storybook. It would tell ancient stories from each race in simple pictures and sounds, so that even young children on different planets could understand each other's history. Zaki collected stories from her desert clans. Luma added cloud poems from her sky cities. Nira told jungle tales passed down by glowing trees. And Rin gathered old earth fables like the tortoise and the hare, and the story of the stars. They worked for days. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they just listened to the soft hum of the stars. In the end, they created something simple, but beautiful. And when they shared the storybook with the Academy, something amazing happened. Messages poured in. Young students from different planets sent their thanks. Teachers asked for copies. Even small villages on faraway moons downloaded the stories. One child from a frozen planet said, "I used to think jungle people were scary. Now I want to visit their forest." Another message said, "The story of the patient tortoise helped me during a hard test." Rin smiled when he read that stories could be more powerful than machines. One evening, while walking through the academy halls, Rin was stopped by Eleanor. "You've changed much in a short time," the Sorrenthan said. "I'm still the same boy who got lost on the first day," Rin replied. Eleanor chuckled. "Maybe, but now others follow your path." He handed Rin a small cube. "What's this?" Rin asked. "A new signal was found. But this one is different. It didn't come from ancient ruins. It came from the edge of known space. And it's calling you by name." Rin's eyes widened. "Me?" Eleanor nodded. "The stars are watching and listening." As Rin walked back to his room, cube in hand, he felt the quiet stir of something bigger. He had come to the academy by accident. A single human among many. Aliens. Now, he stood at the center of something important. He wasn't just a student anymore. He was a bridge. And soon, a new journey would begin. Rin sat quietly in his room, looking at the small glowing cube that Eleanor had given him. It rested in his palm like a gentle spark. The cube didn't speak yet, but he could feel something inside it, like a heartbeat, or maybe a whisper. The message was clear. Someone was calling him. But why, and from where? He placed the cube on the table. A soft hum filled the room, and lines of light began to float in the air. Shapes moved, stars, paths, symbols. Then, a calm voice spoke, not loud, but steady and full of emotion. To the one known as Rin, student of the Unity program, "You are human. But more than that, you are a listener, a learner. And we see you." Rin's eyes widened. He leaned closer. "We are far beyond the edge of your maps. We watched your kind grow, from shadows to sparks. Now the stars say your time has begun." The message ended. Silence returned. Rin sat still for a moment, his mind full of questions. Who were they? What did they want? Why him? He picked up the cube again and rushed out. In the Unity lab, Nira, Zaki, and Luma were working on their next group project, a music map that turned star movements into sound. When Rin entered, they looked up. "You look like you saw a ghost," Zaki said. "Or a supernova," added Luma. Rin placed the cube in the middle of the table. It spoke to Ma. They listened carefully as Rin replayed the message. When it finished, everyone was quiet. Nira finally said, "This is not a random signal. It's a direct call. To you, Rin." Luma's eyes sparkled. "Maybe they're ancient watchers. Or something even older." "We need to follow the signal," Rin said. "It's far, but I think we can reach it." Zaki nodded. "Let's talk to Eleanor." Eleanor stood at the edge of the sky dock, looking at a passing moon. When the team approached and told him about the cube, he listened without interrupting. When Rin finished, Eleanor turned and said, "Then it's time." "Time for what?" Nira asked. Eleanor looked at all four students. "The Unity program was only the beginning," he said. "Now you must leave the academy and follow this message to its end. A deep starship has been prepared. It is quiet, fast, and made for long journeys. But why us?" Zaki asked. "Because you are no longer just students," Eleanor replied. "You are the bridge between species, between past and future. And Rin, you carry something rare. Rin lowered his eyes. I'm just a boy from Earth, Eleanor smiled gently. Even a candle can light 1,000 stars. 2 days later, the Unity team stood aboard a sleek new vessel named Horizon Ray Dot. It was shaped like a smooth arrow, built from silver and white metal, with a glowing blue engine. The inside was quiet and warm. There were no weapons, only science tools, maps, and soft lights. As they took off, the stars grew wider around them. The Academy became a small dot behind. Nira sat at the front, guiding their direction. Zaki checked the ship's shields. Luma adjusted the sensors. Rin sat at the message panel, watching the cube. It pulsed softly, like it was leading them step by step. Days passed. The ship flew deeper into unknown space. They passed ancient wrecks of ships long forgotten, glowing clouds of gas, and planets without names. No maps showed where they were, but the cube kept glowing, always pointing forward. One day, they saw something strange ahead. Not a planet, not a station, but a ring, a giant silver ring floating in space, large enough to hold a small moon inside. It's beautiful, whispered Luma. What is it? Zaki asked. Rin felt the cube grow warm in his hand. The ship approached slowly. Lights on the ring blinked, then opened a quiet path for them. They entered the ring. Inside was a world like no other. Floating islands, glowing rivers of light, towers made of crystal and wind. And in the center stood a being of light, tall and soft like a dream. The ship stopped. The Unity team stepped outside. The being spoke, its voice like music and wind together. You came. Rin stepped forward. We heard your call. The being looked at him with glowing eyes. We are the Watchers of before. Long ago we guided rising races. But we learned. It is not strength or speed that matters. It is understanding. And you understood. Nira whispered, so this was the real test. The being nodded. You chose wisdom over power, curiosity over control. And now we offer you not tools, but truth. It raised a hand. Around them, light swirled. Visions appeared, of ancient stars being born, of the first songs sung by spacefaring species, of lost knowledge waiting to be found. You will not return with weapons, but with knowledge, peace, and purpose. You will teach others. You will build new bridges. You will remind the galaxy what it means to be more. Rin bowed his head. We accept. They stayed inside the ring for some time, learning, listening, and recording the knowledge given to them. When they finally left, the ring vanished behind them, as if it had never been there. But each of them felt changed, not older, just deeper. Back at the Academy, their return caused great celebration. Students and teachers gathered to hear their story. The cube's message was shared with the council. The new truths helped rewrite the way many things were taught. And Rin? He stood once more at the garden under the stars. Quiet, thoughtful, and full of hope. Zaki came to sit beside him, holding her usual snack. You did it, she said. No. Rin replied, we did. She smiled. Luma floated by with a message pad. The next Unity class begins next week. Nira joined them. They asked us to help teach. Rin looked at his friends. Then he looked up at the sky. The stars still shined. The unknown still waited. But now, he wasn't afraid, because the class that was once full of alien girls now had a human boy who walked through the door and never stopped walking forward.